Hi, thank you for joining this webinar, VITEK 2 Breakpoint Update. My name is Eric Berger, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Automated AST with bioMérieux, covering the VITEK 2 product line. So this webinar is number 3 in a series of 4 webinars, so you may have attended some of those other webinars in this session as well, all having to do with breakpoints. If there are webinars in this series that you did not attend, it's okay because they are all being recorded to be available on demand later. So I'm going to start off just by talking through what we're going to cover in this webinar today. And really 4 main things that relate to breakpoints with VITEK 2. So speaking about 4 different things that are different, but all very related in regards to what's coming from bioMérieux for VITEK 2 as it relates to breakpoints and supporting our customers in their continuous efforts to be using current breakpoints, which are always going to be changing. So these topics are going to include the FDA 510K approvals, VITEK 2 9.04 software, the VITEK 2 9MR4 or maintenance release 4, and some information on new card updates. So the objectives, of course, of this session are going to relate directly to those items on the agenda. Those objectives are to review recent antimicrobial 510K clearances, explain key features and updates of the VITEK 2 9.04 software, discuss software maintenance release 9MR4, and explain the VITEK 2 AST card refresh plan. So we'll go ahead and get started by talking about the 510K updates. And this next slide may seem familiar if you've attended some of these other sessions, but as part of our continuous effort to meet market demands and adjust breakpoint changes by FDA and CLSI, bioMérieux is always submitting new antimicrobials or new formulations of existing antimicrobials to FDA for approval, just to make sure we can offer those antimicrobials to our customers, the ones that they need, and to make sure that those antimicrobials are able to accommodate the newest breakpoints. So sometime after submission, bioMérieux gains FDA approval. However, new antimicrobial offerings or new formulations of an antimicrobial won't already exist and can't appear on an existing VITEK 2 card until after they've received that approval. So of course, we'll need to, after that fact, introduce new cards, including those antimicrobials. So you see a list here of some recent drug clearances since 2017 up until now, 2023, this year, for some approvals that we've received. So one of those antimicrobials that you may have noticed, a highlight from that slide, was cefazolin, right, which we got FDA clearance on a new formulation for in February of this year. And the reason for that, the reason that we had this submission, was we needed to be able to accommodate the new lower breakpoints that have presented a challenge for quite some time. So this new version, CZ05N, as you see here, was approved for a calling range of 1 to 32, which does now allow us to accommodate current breakpoints, which it was unable to previously. Now, because this formulation was not FDA cleared until recently, it doesn't exist on any of our current VITEK 2 cards today, and likewise wasn't known by our previous or current software versions for VITEK 2. So 2 of the other items that I'm going to be speaking about here tie directly into this. The release of a new software version 9.04, which is going to be needed to get results for this new drug formulation, as well as some new gram-negative AST cards, which will be coming later this year. So the new cards will contain this new formulation of cefazolin and other new drugs, and will require that software version in order to run these new cards, get the results with this new formulation, and allow reporting of current breakpoints. Okay, so that leads us into the new software version 9.04, and this software update. So anytime we want to improve or optimize what we're doing, like reporting current breakpoints, for instance, it requires changes in 3 areas, right? We need changes related to people, processes, and technology. So all of you on this call or listening to this recorded webinar later on are people who are key stakeholders interested in changing processes to make sure that you're reporting the latest and greatest breakpoints. And then technology needs to keep up with that, right? In order to allow and even optimize those processes to make sure that we can make that change. So this brings us to this 904 software update, which I believe will really help with a lot of these challenges. So when we talk about this 904 update, first of all, it is a mandatory software and knowledge base update that includes a long list of breakpoint updates. And as you can see over here on the left-hand side of your screen, it gives a little summary of some of the breakpoint updates included, including 154 breakpoint updates from CLSI, which is, of course, important as our goal is to make things easy as possible for our customers with the breakpoint updates and minimizing manual efforts in terms of making those updates in the software. 904 also includes some taxonomy updates and some updates to AES or Advanced Expert Systems. So you'll notice here we have some taxonomy updates related to our Enterobacteriales groups. We have 5 new ID and 1 new AST claims, including Candida auris. And as mentioned, some updates to AES or our Advanced Expert System, which is really the brain of our VITEK V software that helps with validating our AST results and identifying resistant phenotypes. So also importantly, this update is going to allow users to run our new cards, which is important, and we'll be talking a little bit more about, to make sure that we can get results on these new or redeveloped antimicrobials, which are highlighted on the right-hand side of the screen, again, including that cefazolin, which has been reformulated to make sure we can accommodate the new breakpoints, but relies on this software version 904 and these new cards. So this software version is launching in Q2 of this year. So you can see that listed here on the bottom of the slide. So that's coming soon. So it's something you're going to get some more formal communication on soon. And it is also going to be deployable through VILink. So VILink is our remote solution that allows us to connect to you without having to have somebody on site. So for our customers who are already at software version 902, this will be VILink deployable. And again, that just means an even easier upgrade for many of you, an even easier update without having somebody on site. And this leads us then into one other piece of technology that's going to be helpful regarding breakpoints, and that is software maintenance release 9.04, which is coming later this year. So this maintenance release, like many other maintenance releases, the main goal was to help fix anomalies that exist with existing software versions, right? So with software version 9, a lot of you are probably at software version 902. We'll be going to 904 soon. There have been some known anomalies that have been identified, and this software maintenance release will resolve those. So you'll notice some of those are listed here. For instance, just some improvements to the VITEK Flex Prep workflow. Also, things like isolates reverting back to be reviewed status. Again, those were fixed by this maintenance release. But I think what's even more exciting beyond these anomaly resolutions is a great new feature that's coming with this 9.04 that relates to updating breakpoints. And that is an executable file that exists within this maintenance release, which is just going to allow easy extraction of all of your current breakpoint data that exists in your VITEK V software. So it creates a CSV file, which can be easily filtered, copied from, searched through, as opposed to having to look at a printout of all of your current breakpoint settings or a print preview that could be a lot more cumbersome. And it's just going to make it a lot easier when you need to refer to this data to identify what your breakpoints are for any given bug-drug combo, and just determining what breakpoints in your system need to be updated to make sure that you're compliant with current breakpoints as they change over time. So this function can be also paired nicely with the new VITEK V breakpoint audit tool, which is coming soon, as well as other tools discussed in some of the other sessions in this series that we're really putting out there just as part of our efforts to continue to support our customers, as evolving breakpoints are always a challenge, but are even more on everyone's minds right now with some of the CAP requirements recently related to updating breakpoints. So just a great new feature coming with that maintenance release. And that leads us to our VITEK 2 card refresh that we've been alluding to. So bioMérieux has been reformulating and submitting new drugs, as I've spoken about, to the FDA. That's an ongoing process. And as we do that and aim to provide what our customers and their patients need in terms of new treatment options or reformulated drugs for our cards in order to accommodate breakpoint changes, those get approved. And then as we've gotten some of those approvals, we begin to create some new cards that include those drugs. So in the interest of public health, bioMérieux will also begin phasing out cards with obsolete versions and breakpoints as new cards are introduced, right? So as discussed, there are some interdependencies for these new cards, right? We need the software version 9.04 in order to run the new cards with the new drugs. So of course, we're evaluating all of these interdependencies carefully as we finalize a phase out plan, which we will be communicating with the rollout of the new AST cards later this year. And my big point is that, of course, we're taking a close look at all of this, and we are going to work with our customers for a smooth transition, enabling everyone to make the move to AST cards that will allow compliance with these current breakpoints. So these new gram-negative cards are in the creation process right now, and we started with the gram-negatives just because there were more breakpoints that needed attention, right, with these gram-negative organisms and some changes in recent years. So they will be available in Q4 of this year, in 2023, and only after these cards are introduced will we begin the timeline for the phase out of the other cards with obsolete drug versions. And we also want to get our customers information as soon as possible on these new card offerings, so in advance of their availability. So as we finalize our internal processes related to the creation of these new cards, the configurations of those card offerings, and additional details, those will be shared with your sales and service teams, including your account managers, your field application specialists, so that they can begin sharing that information with you as soon as possible to begin considering the new card options. We'll also be summarizing new card and software information in customer letters soon, so you should be receiving this information really from multiple avenues with a lot of detail. So this will not be your only opportunity to get some of that information. And then a similar refresh process is planned for our gram-positive cards. So we're beginning that process now, and we can provide more of an update on timeline for those gram-positives pretty soon. And then I just wanted to finish here with a timeline, because I've spoken about several different things that are coming as they relate to VITEK 2 and Breakpoint updates. So again, it's all starting with the FDA approval of these new and reformulated antimicrobials, which really is a continuous process, which recently brought us a new formulation of cefazolin, for example. Again, one that I know many of you have been waiting for and are excited to have that can accommodate those new breakpoints. And then in Q1, we were finalizing the configurations of these new gram-negative AST cards that will be rolling out. So those are early in the creation process right now. And then in Q2, which is now, we are preparing to launch this software VITEK V9.04. So again, this version is needed in order to support the new cards that we'll be rolling out later this year, making sure that you can report out these new drug formulations and new antimicrobials with the new lower breakpoints. And then in Q3, remember the 9MR4, in addition to fixing some anomalies in previous software versions, it's also going to provide that great new function, which will allow you to easily extract all of this data in a CSV file on your current breakpoints, so that you can compare that to what are the current breakpoints and use that in conjunction with some of our other tools to determine what needs to be updated, what needs validations or verifications as breakpoints continue to change over time. And then in Q4, we will see the rollout of those new AST cards, right? So they'll start to be available for purchase so that customers can start to make the transition over to those cards. And at that time, we will communicate some more information on a timeline to start phasing out some of our existing cards, which are not able to accommodate current breakpoints and have older drug formulations on them. All right, so with that, I just want to thank you all for joining me for this session 3 and this 4-part webinar. I hope this has been helpful, and we look forward to continuing to support you. Thank you.